I'm Richie Bosworth. I'm the head brewer here at Twisted Barrel Ale Brewery and Tap House. We're a microbrewery based right in the heart of Coventry in Fargo Village. Beer is such a diverse product really, it can suit anybody's taste buds. With things such as say cider or wine, they can be fairly one-dimensional because they're based on a certain fruit. Beer has an infinite array of ingredients, all that can be created and brought together to create so many different styles. We have a certain ethos here at Twisted Barrel, which is inclusivity and accessibility, really. There's a certain openness and transparency that goes with that too. It's why our brewery has always been open to customers. There's no barriers or glass in the way. You can see what we do here. If you're in on a weekday, you can even watch us brewing. But our mantra from day one is that there is a beer for everybody. We recognise that not everyone's going to like beer. We make sure that we're well stocked with alcohol-free products, gluten-free products, wine, spirits, cocktails, so that anyone can come out as a group and feel included. A lot of our beers may contain hops grown in America or New Zealand or Australia. Things like all the yeast we use, the purees, they're all grown in the EU, so they're as close as possible as we can get to being local. The brewing industry has come on quite a bit. If you were to taste a beer, say even just from the Victorian era, it would immediately be dismissed as infected, for example. The reason for that obviously has been sanitation, refrigeration, and the ability to control temperature. So the ingredient that can have the biggest impact on the flavour of a beer is the yeast, and how we've kind of tamed yeast over time and made it work for us has been the biggest change in brewing over the last 100 years or so. I think especially for the brewer themselves, being able to kind of stand over there working away, seeing someone, you know, putting the pint to their lips and enjoy that beer, or also getting the time to go and pour the beer yourself as well and sit down and have a sip. That is that special feeling, you know, at the end of a long day or the end of a long week. It's always better with friends. And I don't think you'll ever replace that. I think it's something that has been lost in recent times, and that explains why people have wanted to come together to have that feeling again.
I'm Nicola Kelsey. I run the Welcome Hills Vineyard with my husband Jonathan, and we produce award-winning wine from grapes grown on land once farmed by the Shakespeare family.
I'm Jonathan Kelsey and I run Welcome Hills Vineyard with my wife Nicola. This year we produced 6 wines in total, and it's really dependent on the season. We're very lucky here that we've got 9 grape varieties, which means there's an awful lot of opportunity to experiment between different blends.
We've been thrilled with this success because it's a business that we're very passionate about. We've really enjoyed growing over the last 4 years. So to have been awarded these medals, we've had 3 silvers and 1 bronze just this year alone. It's wonderful to have all that hard work validated and recognised.
I think English wine is getting better and better every year, and we're really learning a lot about how to produce amazing wine in this country. It's a pretty amazing experience actually. I mean, from the very start of spring when we start seeing bud bursts right through to the end and harvest, we're tending the vines by hand on a daily basis, so it's a really personal experience. And when you're only the size that we are, we're only at 2,500–3,000 vines that are producing grapes, you kind of know every vine, you know every grape.
As well as growing the grapes here, we also fortunate to have this lovely tasting room and where we can welcome our customers and actually try our wine out on them firsthand. It's been wonderful over the last few summers to provide that for people to come and visit us and meet our customers.
We love sharing our wine with people on tours. We love getting feedback from people about the wine. And for us, we get to do everything from branding to PR to marketing, like any small business. You know, we get to grow the product, we get to make the wine, we get to market the wine, we get to speak to the customers at the end of it. So it's a really, overall, having our wine is a real personal experience, both for us and our customers.
So wine has been an important part of social gatherings for as long as we can remember. And still now it's the social thing that people do. You go around to someone's house, you're invited in for a cup of tea or a cup of coffee or a glass of wine, and it's a celebration, it's friendship, and it's that, I think, that element of sharing something together, whether it's sharing bread or sharing wine. It's a really important part of how we live.
My name is Seren Quinn and I'm a PhD student in the Department of History at the University of Warwick. I study the introduction and assimilation of New World foods, that is foods from the Americas, in England and Italy in the early modern period. The history of hot chocolate is really fascinating, both from the perspective of feasting and bringing people together. It's a drink, that is to say, that's been around for, I think the earliest real evidence we have is about 1000 BC as being consumed. And it's something that's been a really key part of feasting and ritual and these sort of practices ever since that point. So these days we tend to think that alcohol is the key part of social life, of bringing people together. But in the early modern period and the medieval period, we actually have a shift from a culture that was fairly alcohol-based to one that in Europe is beginning to move towards these drinks like hot chocolate especially. This is the earliest hot drink that's been introduced to Europe that's not alcoholic particularly. And following that you have coffee, which was introduced, which wasn't consumed before about 1650, and tea very closely following that. And these new drinks, because they're exotic, because they have these sort of these airs of ritual about them, they become a really key part of early modern European social life. Christmas is such a key part of European social life in terms of this festive period. It's our sort of very big period in which we celebrate, in which we come together, and hot drinks is such an important part of that. You have mulled wine, which has its own sort of life, but hot chocolate is a really is something that brings really the whole community together. The children and as well as the adults can be part of this feasting and festivity and coming together as a community around in these cold winter months around something that's warm and that really comforts us is something that's gone back centuries, if not millennia.